Hello and welcome back to London Cycle Routes. Today I'll be showing you how to cycle from Leytonstone in North East London to Victoria Park in East London. This ride takes about 20 minutes and you can do the whole thing on quiet streets and protected cycle lanes. By public transport, the journey takes at least half an hour and requires a change of train or a longish walk, so it's really convenient to take your bike for this one. If you find this video useful or you just enjoy watching it, then please don't forget to hit the bell icon and subscribe to the channel on YouTube, as I try to post new videos just like it every week. And once again, a big thank you to everybody who supports the channel on Patreon. If you'd like to contribute, you can find a link in the description. Alright, let's get going. So we're starting outside Leytonstone Tube Station and we begin by heading south down Grove Green Road. This street has nice protected cycle lanes on it, and for that you can thank the local council, the London Borough of Waltham Forest, who do a good job of putting cycle lanes on the early part of this route. We don't stay on it too long though, as we turn off left just before we get to Dyers Hall Park Playground, and we go up this little alleyway here and we turn right. You're allowed to cycle here, and technically it's pedestrians on one side of the line and bikes on the other, but when it gets a bit busier you might find pedestrians straying into the cycle path. There's not a lot you can do about that, so just ride cautiously and follow the path past these side roads. If it helps you get your bearings, on the left hand side of that wall is a big fast main road, the A12. For the first part of this route we'll mostly be running parallel to it before picking our way through some low traffic neighbourhoods and then having a look at some of the infrastructure that was put in the Olympic Park. You end that cycle track by coming off on Dyers Hall Road South, and then you turn left and you rejoin Grove Green Road. That might seem like a little bit of a detour we've just done, and it sort of is, but there isn't a continuous cycle track all the way down Grove Green Road, I think for space reasons, so the cycle route takes that back street for a while before rejoining it. This time the cycle track is two-way on one side of the road. Previously it was one way on the other side of the road. I actually think this is a little bit more convenient, and if you need to cross to any of the side roads you can use the zebras like that one we just went over. That's a parallel cycle zebra crossing which gives you priority to access the other side of the street. Now this bit here is a little bit shonky. It takes you to a pedestrian crossing, but this is not a cycle pedestrian crossing. You have to go back onto the main road, and then officially the way you're supposed to do it here is join the cycle track on the pavement again. Note the no loading bars on the double yellow line there, which the guy in the truck is ignoring. However, it didn't bother us too much and we were able to get past, and the two-way cycle track continues for quite some time and is actually really quite good, especially considering how narrow the road is. In fact, there have definitely been some sacrifices made on the pavement. You can see it's relatively narrow for a London pavement, which isn't fantastic. It would have been better to see some of the parking removed, but sometimes these things are political. We turn left at Langthorne Road, and note the excellent planting there. That will improve drainage, and it also just makes the place feel a lot nicer. We're heading for this cycle bridge, which is again over the A12, or as it is also known, Eastern Avenue. And this is quite nicely done. There's a shaded cycle track on one side, and on the other side it's clearly a pedestrian walkway. The surface here is a little bit dodgy, but you can't have everything, and we come out onto a filtered street past these bollards. This is Langthorne Road again, and it's actually part of a low traffic neighbourhood. That's the western section of the South Leytonstone low traffic neighbourhood, and as you can see it reduces the traffic on the roads to virtually nil because it removes all the through traffic by putting in bollards and planters to block through routes for motor traffic that isn't going somewhere within the area. And as a result it's really pleasant to cycle on the road here, and we're having no problems. There's no need for a protected cycle track, and it's a really cheap and effective way of putting excellent cycle infrastructure, that is just the regular roads, across a wide area. You can see one of the filters up ahead here. It's left physically open so that emergency vehicles can get through if they need to. Otherwise you might put bollards to physically prevent people from coming through. Waltham Forest is particularly good for low traffic neighbourhoods. Virtually the entire southern half of the borough is covered in them. If you don't believe me, check the Safe Cycle London map. There's a link in the description, and it has a really great illustration of all the LTNs. And the great thing about carpeting the whole borough in them is it really removes a lot of those criticisms that, LTNs only serve a particular area or this area but not that area. Really the aim should be to remove through traffic from pretty much the whole of your borough, and I think if other councils took a more bold approach, then they would see what's happened in Waltham Forest, which is that opposition has essentially evaporated as everybody feels that they benefit from it. The other thing to note about Waltham Forest is that it is very much an outer London borough. It's not the sort of place that you would have previously expected a cycling revolution to happen, but they've made it work, and I think if they can do it here, you can basically do it anywhere in the capital or in the UK. As we come to the end of the street, you'll need to wait for a gap in the traffic on High Road Leyton, and note where the drop curb was there. You don't need to dismount. We're heading into Drapers Field Recreation Ground now, and you are allowed to cycle here. There's a cycle path running diagonally across the park. There are some interesting features here to watch out for. You see on the right there are obstacles, and on the left the ground is kind of perforated. This is actually for teaching children how to cycle, I believe. You can still find the spec of the cycle path design if you look online. It's kind of interesting if you're into urban planning and that kind of thing. We come out here and we go on to Temple Mills Lane. In this direction, we've got a protected cycle lane over the bridge. In the other direction, you don't have one, but the bridge actually has a bus gate on it. That's what the back of those signs say that you can't see. So it is very quiet, and you might only have to share it with the occasional bus. Our aim at this junction is to get to the diagonal opposite side of it, so the right-hand far side, and the way to do that for us here is to use this toucan crossing and this toucan crossing, which you're both allowed to cycle on, and then the shared space to join the cycle path. Of course, on the shared space, if there's ever anybody around here, make sure you give them priority if they're walking. However, you're not actually that likely to see too many people around here, as we're now getting into the Olympic Park. There are many nice things about the Olympic Park, but the way that the neighbourhood has been developed, even though it's a decade on from the Olympics, it still feels quite deserted a lot of the time. It's quite spacious. I remember reading an interesting piece in The Guardian recently about the legacy of the Olympic Park, which is very critical. And one interesting thing they say is one of the designers of the park talks about why there are so many big, wide roads, which is not the sort of thing you would normally stick in a new development in London. It's not known as a good idea. Apparently, the International Olympic Committee's spec for the Olympic site required them to be able to get between different parts of the Olympic site, within a certain very limited time, and the main easy way to achieve that was to put big, fast, wide roads linking everything up. So that partly explains the layout of the area. Unfortunately, it does make for not the best neighbourhood, to be honest, and the lack of affordable housing is particularly galling. You can see a lot of those commercial units in other parts of the park that you might notice were taken up by marketing suites for the expensive apartments that they sell around here. It's been a decade since the Olympics, so you'd think that might have moved on, but it hasn't. There is some nice stuff though. You can go and watch basketball in the Copper Box, which we've just gone past on the left, and it's not too expensive because basketball's not a particularly popular sport here, so it's good if you like watching sports and not spending a lot of money. I've been and I had a really nice time. Now we're crossing the River Lea here, and this bridge actually unfortunately doesn't have a ramp down the other side. You've got two options. You can do what me and the guy in front are demonstrating. You can use the bike channel. That's a little channel here that helps you get your bike up and down, or you can use the elevator that was on the left there, and yeah, that is an option as well, so you shouldn't actually have to dismount. It will depend obviously on the size of your cycle if you can actually get it in the lift. We continue down Wallis Road here, and we're now in Hackney Wick, which is an interesting part of town. Used to be kind of light industrial, now quite gentrified, but still quite a nice place, to be honest. And you can see in front of us there's a railway line. That's actually the North London line. So there was a freight train and an overground train running in the opposite direction. I thought that was quite a cool view actually. I like seeing trains in action. We go down this boulevard admiring the graffiti and the trees, which I think are really nice. An interesting thing about this part of town is that it is massively prone to flooding. So you actually can't get planning permission to put dwellings on the ground floor because the buildings are designed to flood on the ground floor and people remain upstairs. There's another bridge here, and this is going to take us over the A Road again. This bridge actually does have a ramp on both sides, so it's all good. There's really no problem crossing the A12, which is also known as the East Cross route. You come out at the end of the bridge and cross Cadogan Terrace here, which is a very quiet road, and you'll actually find we're entering into Victoria Park, which is our final destination, and a very, very nice park it is too. And you can easily go on from here onto Hackney, the city, and really the rest of London. Thank you for watching that, guys. If you enjoyed that, do hit subscribe on the channel. It makes a big difference. And if you really, really enjoy lots and lots of videos and you feel you'd like to, you can always support the Patreon. There's a link in the description. And also in the description is a map of the route which you can download and use on whatever GPS device of your choice. It also works in apps. Let me know in the comments what you think of that. I'm always interested in what people have to say. And I'm also open to requests, so let me know down below. Thank you again, and see you again next time.